everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Dory, I'm a teacher of English, and today's video is another request video, but I think that it will be very interesting for all of you that want to study in the UK or in the US and want a visa for it. So I'll read the question. Could you please upload a video of how to behave with a visa officer and tricks and tips, please? Okay, so first of all, what I want to tell you is that the visa officer that is going to interview you is a very experienced officer who really knows his job. So tricks won't really work here. What I can do is to give you some general advice of what he expects to hear in order to give you that visa. I believe that the majority of study visas are usually granted. So this video is about study visas and not work visas, okay? Now, as far as the UK is concerned, things are pretty easy. As long as you can communicate in English quite well and you are able to provide reasons of why you want to study in the UK, and of course, if you have all the required documents with you, then you will probably get that visa. However, keep in mind that you must have already been offered a place on a course in a university. This is a requirement. Overall, you must be calm, organized, and very clear and specific in your answers. These things help. Of course, you should look decently dressed, okay? So, during the interview, if you don't understand something or if you don't hear something very well, always you can ask the officer to repeat the question or to talk a little bit more slowly. So you can always ask something like that. Could you please repeat the question, or could you please talk a little bit more slowly? You can do these things and they are not going to count against you. So first things first, they will ask you your name and your date of birth. So the question could be something like that. Could you please tell me your name and the date of your birth, or what is your name and your birth date? And in this case you will answer, my name is, for example, let's just say, my name is Umiko Tanaka and my date of birth is the 21st of January 1995. They will definitely ask you, where will you be studying? So in this case you have to be clear and provide as much details as possible. So if you can't be specific, for example, you can answer something like that. I will be studying, for example, economics. I will be studying economics at City University. Always mention the university of your choice. The more information you know about it, the better. So be prepared before the interview, because they will ask you some things about that. For example, they may ask you, when does the course start? So in which case you have to know the exact start day of your program. So you will answer, my course starts, or the start date of my course is the 15th of October, for example. Obviously then they're going to ask you some details about the course of your choice and the reasons of why you chose it. For example, what is the course of your choice about and why did you choose a program like that? So again, it depends a little bit of your own personal choice and your own personal reasons. So you have to be able to be really clear and specific of why you choose something like that, and you have to know some things to talk about it. But as an example answer, you could say, I will be studying economics at City University and I chose this course because a degree in economics will help me find a job in the future, and the skills and expertise that I will acquire during the years of my studies will help me pursue a career in the future. For example, I strongly advise you not to memorize answers. experienced examiners can really understand that, and this is going to count against you. But of course, always feel free to practice these answers lots of times until you're able to talk about this matter without memorizing answers and without any extra help, okay? They will most certainly ask you, why did you choose this specific university or this particular institution? So you have to be able to talk about it a little bit, about the university of your choice. Answers like, well, this was the only university that actually accepted me. These answers are not going to work very well for you, so you have to be prepared for something else. For example, an answer could be, upon research, I found out that this university is one of the best in the field of studies that I'm interested in, and also I know that it has a very good reputation in terms of higher education. Of course, if you want to add even more advantages about the university of your choice, you can feel free to add even more, but this again is something that is based on your personal choice and preference. They may also ask you, why did you choose the UK for your studies? Again, you may have your own personal reasons for choosing the UK, but an example answer could be, I chose the UK because I'm very interested in British culture in general, and I really like the English language. Also, I know for a fact that the UK has a very good reputation in higher education, and again you can say that the college, the institution of my choice, is one of the best in the field that I'm interested in. Of course, they may not ask you all the questions that I give you here, they may just ask you some of them, but it is very wise to be prepared for all of them because you never know what they're going to ask you. Another important factor for them is the issue of your residence. So they may ask you, where will you be staying during your studies, where you will you be living during your studies. So in this case you have to know what you're going to do in terms of residence. For example, you could answer, I intend to rent a room with fellow students from my country of origin. You can say that I intend to stay with friends and relatives that already live here, or I intend to use the accommodation provided by the university. Be sure that any answer you're giving is the truth, because they are going to ask you details about it most probably, and you have to be able to answer them. Another question could be, what are your plans for the future after you complete your studies? Again, this is a little bit personal, it is about what you intend to do, but an example answer could be, I intend to pursue a master's degree and develop my skills even more, or I intend to apply for jobs and start putting into practice my skills and expertise that I acquired during my studies. Also, they might ask you, is this the first time you apply for a visa? In this case, of course, you answer the truth. They might ask you some information about the town that you're going to live in, so be prepared for that too by saying some things about this specific town. For example, you could say, I like it there, I like it very much because it is a big international city with many opportunities for me. You can also say that people are very friendly here, or that you already have friends and relatives and you know more or less the city that you're going to live in. As you can see, they may ask you different questions, but they will be more or less around the same topics, about your studies, about the university of your choice, about where you're going to be staying, and about the city that you're going to live in, more or less about the same topics. So be sure to be prepared for these kind of questions. They may also ask you about your IELTS score, in which case you will answer your overall band score. And if they ask you for a specific section that you may have a weakness, be ready to answer how you intend to deal with this. For example, if you are a little bit weak, for example, in writing, you can answer something like, I am aware that I'm a little bit weaker in writing compared to other sections, so I intend to attend some extra classes in order to solve that. So be ready to provide solutions if you already know that you lack some skills concerning your IELTS scores, okay? Overall, remember to be clear and to provide concise and specific answers. Be confident and show that you know what you're talking about. Good level of English in terms of reading, speaking and writing, and of course listening and communicating very well, is kind of important. But in case you're already accepted by a university there, then you probably have nothing to fear about. Now, this is all about the UK. If you're interested in studying in the US, well, that's a different story, and we will talk about this in a following video, in the part 2 of this video, because regarding the US, things are a little bit different. I hope this helps. If you have any questions or comments, please do leave them down below, or in Facebook, Twitter and Google+. I've added all 3 links down below in the description box. Thank you very much for watching. Good luck with your studies.